With Chapter 5 finally released, Toby Fox has once again taken everything we thought we knew and thrown it in the garbage. You know, probably. With 2 more chapters, anything could happen. But I believe Toby's left us enough breadcrumbs to bring us closer to an answer than ever before. Hi, my name's Comfy and welcome back to my space station. So I know Chapter 5 just came out and everything, but my whole body has not stopped buzzing every time I think about it. I've absolutely got a whole bunch of theory videos I want to take my sweet time crafting, but I wanted to get my thoughts on the weird route out swiftly. So while I'm not planning on wasting your time or anything, this video might be a little under-edited compared to my previous ones. All right, let's dive right in with the following assertion. Deltarune is a video game. Now, look, I made a whole video on this topic and some commenters were all like, well, duh, Comfy. Obviously, it's a video game. And I guess that's on me for trying to make a funny title. But the condensed idea is that not only is Deltarune literally a video game, it is also narratively a video game. Diegetically a video game. So with this framing in mind, I want to analyze everything Noelle says during the sequence and see how well it all fits. Right off the bat, Noelle's hair here, her stance, is very, very creepy, of course. Thank you, Toby. But aside from that, it's really striking that Noelle is standing in a diagonal direction. Like there's all sorts of animation to turn her around to face Kris, which could just be, you know, for atmosphere, but I feel the fact that she's standing diagonally is very unnerving in a world where everybody stands left to right or up to down. There is no diagonal positioning. If there are, I can't seem to find any on the sprites website. You could argue maybe the battle sprites are at an angle, but I don't know, even the battle sprites just kind of seem, you know, they're mostly facing in one direction. They're very slightly tilted, but they're facing camera. So this is doing its job of sort of unnerving us right off the bat, letting us know that things are not normal right now. It is a weird route after all. So Noelle gives her opening spiel here at being terrified at the events of the previous day, that every cell in her body was screaming at her to run away during the whole thorn ring incident. So when listening to the things that Noelle is telling us, we have to kind of take it with a pretty large grain of salt here. Whatever we've done to Noelle has changed her. So her saying things like, oh, I wasn't happy in my little old life, you know, she's saying that with an amount of hindsight behind her, a new mentality, if you will. So it's hard to say if she actually felt that way pre-Thorn Ring or not, but in any case, following the very obvious themes of freedom that are prevalent in every pixel of Deltarune, Noelle wants to be free. She wants freedom from a life that she does not feel in control of. And at a core level, she isn't in control of her life. Noelle is a video game character. And I don't know if the Thorn Ring specifically gave her that realization or not, that there is something more to this world than she currently understands, but she knows she wants freedom. And I feel like this is further compounded by her referring to herself as a Noelle that has to do Noelle things. Now, based on how Noelle talks to Kris about all this, it doesn't seem like she fully understands the full picture, but as she sees it, Kris has the power to break the status quo, break reality. And she's not wrong. But calling herself a Noelle that has to do Noelle things is so striking to me, because in a literal sense, that's, you know, what she's programmed to do. But a Noelle that has to do Noelle things is so evocative of just the notion that, like, you know, how many copies of Deltarune have been sold on Steam alone? Every single download is another Noelle. And I think the language here is really telling of that idea, that Noelle is sort of coming to the understanding that, like, her life is maybe not as her own as she's thought it to be her entire life. Oh, the sprite gives me anxiety. Oh my God. Kris, you actually changed. And then the very next line, you found out how to stop being Kris. So again, Noelle is using language to explain the situation to the best of her understanding. Like, you know, I think how kind of unkempt her walking sprite is pretty indicative of her mental state at this time. She knows she sounds crazy, right? But it makes a certain sense to her. You found out how to stop being Kris. You found out a way to break out of your role. She's putting this all on Kris. Like, she doesn't seem to have any understanding that there might be a second power, aka us, the player, meddling with things, right? And no one else has noticed because they don't want to. So I definitely want to sort of come back to this point, but I feel like this line in particular is really a pillar of this entire scene. So to take a step back, let's talk about the egg rooms. Something that's always struck me as very interesting, very interesting, is that nobody says anything when Kris returns from an egg room. Nobody says like, hey, Kris, where were you? We've just been waiting. You just disappeared into a void, into a middle room, you know, or whatever. Nobody says anything. Now, that's always struck me as very strange, but I feel like this line really gets into the meat of that. I think that as a rule, if normal characters from Deltarune encounter something that, you know, we would call game breaking, they turn a blind eye to it. Like, it's something that is baked in to being a video game character. If you see a glitch, you just sort of pretend that you didn't. I don't know if this is a deep cut or not, but like in the first episode of Matt Smith's Doctor Who, there's a whole bit about like a hidden door, like this door that had always been there, but nobody could quite see it. I sort of feel like it's like that. Like, if they see it, there's something in their programming, for lack of a better word, that allows them to just explain it away or pretend they didn't see it, just to not have a problem with it, I guess. And so now that Noelle has been awakened by Kris's and our actions, she can see all of Hometown's residents with open eyes for the very first time. But that scares her. They'll just keep marching down the same path, just like an NPC would and truly should. So then she starts talking about casting Snowgrave, and I think that this is a pretty good example of what I was just referring to. During Chapter 2's Weird Route, over and over, Noelle denies that Snowgrave is even a spell she can cast at all, despite the fact that it's there in her menu, which, you know, I guess you can't see that. But she seems to have a sense of what spells she's supposed to be able to cast, right? So when Kris insists over and over cast Snowgrave, her response is denial. I don't have that spell, Kris. Like, I don't remember what she says exactly, but, and it's only after a few attempts does she finally give in and listen to Kris and do something she didn't think she could do before. And now here in Chapter 5, she is talking about how strong that made her feel. To break free of what she is supposed to be doing, which is keeping the status quo in her mind, right? So then using Kris's power of being able to tell her what to do, more or less, they go deeper and deeper into the lake. So here's the thing. In my opinion, the deeper into the lake we get, the less, I guess, rendered is maybe the right word to use, the lake seems. Like on screen right now, we just have 4 colors of water, right? Like, they're not really moving because, in my opinion, nobody's ever supposed to be out here. Nobody's ever supposed to see this. It's like if you're ever able to get up high in a game world, like somewhere you're not supposed to be, and, you know, it doesn't look good up there because nobody's supposed to see up there. I feel like this lake is the exact same concept, where it just sort of looks extremely low, you know, resolution, I guess, for lack of a better word. The other thing that's striking for me is as we get closer and closer to what I'm gonna call the world border, the world edge, we see a pulsing white light that is not too dissimilar to Undertale's border lights. And the world logic of each of those games isn't exactly one-to-one, but like, I feel like the comparisons here are way too obvious to overlook. And then if we keep hitting proceed, we glitch into Chapter 7, seemingly, which of course, currently doesn't exist yet. So it seems pretty obvious that what's in store for the Weird Route is going to just completely skip Chapter 6. We're gonna end up right in Chapter 7, somewhere that we are not supposed to be. Also, let me just play this clip from Chapter 4 for no particular reason. Fine boom, fine boom. Lake skip? Toby, you tricky tuba. Now, before we move on, there is another way to end this sequence, with what people are referring to as an aborted Weird Route. If you, instead of selecting proceed, you choose stop, Noelle has different dialogue, but you are forced to head into the lake anyway. And then after a few lines of dialogue, the scene just goes the same. But if you stop hitting proceed as the screen is whiting out, you get this scene, with Noelle narrating the game And then we are back here. Nothing changed, as Noelle puts it. Now here's the thing, despite Noelle's claim that nothing changed, we'll soon see that that's not actually true. Now this very first one, I don't know if it's just a piece of oversight or not, but for whatever reason, this face sprite is different. All the sprites in the normal route are her looking over her shoulder, right? But for whatever reason, in the weird route, this is just a normal kind of frowny face. The lines of dialogue are the same, so maybe this wasn't intended to sort of be a little clue, but I'm taking it as one. And then as Kris goes to get up, they fall down, weak from the stress of everything that's been going on. Susie helps them get their standing legs again, and it's all very cute. And then you just go to the Chapter 5 Dark World as normal. So if you continue playing after an aborted weird route, almost everything is the same, but there are a few key differences. The first being when you meet up with Rouse in the Dark World. Rouse is overjoyed that Kris is okay, that Kris did not fast travel through the game's code, so to speak. Secondly, there is a scene between Kris and Susie later in Asgore's castle.
Though, like, if I can be weird for a sec here, before I knew you, I kinda thought you and Noelle were a thing. And I know that's not true, right? I mean, she likes me. So why does she have to talk to you alone? Why can't either of you tell me what it's about? Why was she excited and you were... But that's not all, right? Why was your hair all wet? Why did both of you seem so far away after? I don't get any of it.
Susie confirms that everything that has happened up to this point has happened. We met up with Noelle, we got in the water, and the two of them must have made up some kind of a story and then continued on to fill their roles. But everything's all messed up, so Susie's confused and upset, right? So to put kind of a capper on all of that, I really do feel like all of this is just hammering in more and more and more and more that, you know, device theory is true, that Deltarune is a video game, and what we are doing in the weird route is breaking this game apart. Now, what's especially interesting to me about this is that up to this point, what the weird route was about was pretty vague. Like before Chapter 5 came out, my personal theory regarding the weird route was something along the lines of Noelle being the actual cage with human soul and parts, or at least that she would suffice to fill that role, and that the events of Chapter 4 were creating a human soul inside her to fulfill the prophecy. I thought, as many others, that the weird route had something to do with the prophecy, but now it really makes you wonder what Kris knows. Because again, if it was just about the prophecy and Kris already knows what the prophecy says, then this all makes, you know, total sense. But how much could Kris possibly know about their existence, about the world? They've definitely proven over and over that they know how the soul works and how kind of all the game stuff works, but at the same time, I don't know how likely it is that they have deeper understanding about like what code is and that they themselves aren't real in the strictest sense of the word. So what exactly is Kris worried about? Like, is it just letting Noelle in on, you know, the quote unquote big secret? Were they worried that this exact thing was gonna happen? Like, they were really mad at us. So what specifically are they worried about? But I guess that's the big question for Chapter 7. Now, before we end the video, I kind of just have a bunch of other things I want to show you from around the internet, because I've been buzzing, but the internet has also been buzzing. So I've seen this kind of all over, but this video in particular is from YouTuber Kuz with a one-shot PFP, hell yeah. The noise that occurs during the Chapter 7 Side B screen at the very, very end, I guess when you put it into a spectrogram and speed it up by 666%, it reveals this image, which In my humble opinion, this really looks like a lake. This looks like waves.
Deal with that information what you will.
Next, from Twitter user New Artist Cool, but also I've seen this in a bunch of places. Something I didn't cover in this video was your walk with Susie, or starting the chapter in the weird route. I just skipped to the Noelle scene, but as you're walking down, Sans gives you some bread. And if you look at the bread, a loaf of bread tends to leave crumbs wherever it goes. Now, in the first Mother game, also known as Earthbound Zero in America, or in English, I guess, there's something called the breadcrumbs glitch. And I didn't know about this until I saw this, so I'm not, I'm just reporting the news at this point. But there is a glitch involving the use of breadcrumbs that allows the player to reach an out-of-bounds area of the map in the original Mother. So you use this breadcrumbs item to warp yourself to an area that you're not supposed to be in. And it looks like this. So what's very, very interesting, this is from the Chapter 3 Egg Room, when you look through the binoculars. Look familiar? I see you, Toby. Now this bit's pretty crazy. And again, this is coming from the internet. I haven't confirmed this, but I've seen a few different people posting this interaction. Apparently, if you abort a weird route in Chapter 4, meaning that if you get to the Thorn Ring scene and you let Kris run out, or you say, sorry, just a prank, or any of that stuff, if you try to ride the Ferris wheel with Noelle, this happens. Woo! That spooked the poo out of me. That's a Noelle angry face. What's that doing in the normal route? And like, truly, it really sort of, to me, looks like Noelle is looking at us, at the player. Now, what immediately happens after this is nothing. You get control of Kris again, and you can just move on. But for me, that feels incredibly strange. This kind of locks into everything I've been talking about. The regular NPCs of this game turn a blind eye when stuff that, like, not just weird stuff, but things that shouldn't be happening. Neither Sans nor Susie reacted to Noelle saying that just now, or making that face, or what have you. Susie comments on every little thing. She's not gonna comment on that. She's not gonna make a face. She's not gonna do anything. I don't buy it. I feel like all this does is further cement everything that Noelle was saying at the beach. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about this NPC. You know, normal NPC. You know, this goner. You know, this guy. Were you surprised to see them running a booth at the festival? I know I was. All they've seemingly done for 4 chapters is stand around and act strangely, but now all of a sudden they're running a business? But much more importantly, this bird killed Onion. They definitely killed Onion. Probably. This Twitter user, The River Draws, posits that this bird is a parrot or some sort of repeating bird, which if that were the case, would mean that this crazy line, this line that I myself just thought was sort of glitchy dialogue, like maybe this character is breaking in game or something, much more akin to maybe Onion's final words. Much more upsetting. So maybe he killed Onion, maybe it's just a big coincidence, but like, let's just assume that he did, right? What does that mean? Last we heard from Onion, they were gonna do some investigating in the lake. Oh, wait a minute. This is gonna be such a big swing, but it really almost seems like, this character is named normal NPC in the game files, which is pretty suspicious. Like, does Gaster have some sort of sway over the goner NPCs? You know what I mean? Did Gaster or whoever not want Onion investigating the borders of the lake, and to prevent them from doing so, give them the axe, so to speak? And if that's the case, like, but why though? Like, is Gaster able to communicate with the goners? Like, I don't know. It's a mystery. And yeah, that about covers it. This video is kind of a little more all over the place than my normal ones, but I just have a lot of thoughts I wanted to get out about this. Hopefully it read as coherent. I'm telling you, I'm buzzing, Jack. If you enjoyed this video or just like my face, please check out this video on screen. I love you.